Okay, so I'd like to call to order Park and Rec Commission meeting October 12th at 7 o'clock. This meeting being fully held hybrid in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts order, and it is being recorded. I think I said all that, and we'd like to go ahead and start with opening remarks. I think we're all set with that. Approval of minutes. I've read through them. They look good to me, commissioners. Any comments on last month's September 14th minutes?
Nope, but I'll make a motion again that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, I'll accept it. We have to do our whole thing. G.
Hideko, yes.
Hawk, yes.
Bolton, yes.
Awesome. Okay, anybody in the public like to participate? It looks like I don't see anything popping
Does
up.
anyone have a hand raised or would like to participate?
There you go.
Liz?
Liz,
Would you like to speak?
you have to unmute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, so I'm Liz Caprillion, 275 Singletary Lane. So just a couple of things. So none of the recordings of prior meetings seem to get posted to the public portal as far back as January 12th, 2022 meeting. So reports also don't get posted as background material. So that means that meeting information isn't very accessible or available to the public. So it would be helpful if the audios of the recordings for all the 2022 meetings so far could get posted. And it would be super helpful if the reports that are being read during the meetings are also part of the background materials with the agenda. That certainly makes the information a lot more accessible on a self-serve basis so that we don't have to email in to request it. People don't have to take the time to dig it out and email it over. And it might also overcome some of the issues of the problematic audio that has been happening during meetings. I believe that the city hired a company called Taking Flight Goose Control to use border collies to try and scare off the Canadian geese from the 3 beaches this year. If Parks could confirm the cost for that, and if there's a final report that maybe the company provided, and if it's posted somewhere, I apologize, I couldn't find it, but it would be nice if we could see the report from them that would confirm the dates and times that Taking Flight visited the beaches, and hopefully the instances where they were actually encountered chased off geese. So it'd be nice to know kind of what was the end result of having them on deck. And last, the parks section, the website section for projects and improvements, there's a status for current projects, but it would be helpful to add like how long it's been at that status. And if in fact the project is really more blocked or paused, like it has been for Mary Dennison or Washington Beach, that might actually be useful, along with what the key issue is, like maybe needs additional funding or whatever the situation really is. So those are some things that I, as just a resident trying to figure out stuff, would find helpful. Thanks.
Okay, great, Liz. Thank you very much. I think that we will. Does anybody have any other comments? Anybody else like to speak?
There are no other hands up.
No other hands. So
I would
Jim,
like
when
to
you
speak,
report,
like
you
Leslie
address
White.
some of that? Leslie,
Yes. How are you?
very good. Go
Can you
ahead.
guys hear me? Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to say, thank you for hosting the meeting for the Arlington Park, and I'm just looking forward to hearing more about the new updates about the park. So thank you for hosting that. I look forward to having you guys at the actual park itself, like meeting the residents. So I look forward to that. So thank you for hosting it. I'm looking forward to the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. We'll make note of that. Get everybody down there. Anybody else have any comments? Something, oh no. Okay, so I think that's it for public participation. We'll go on to the Superintendent of Recreation report. Probably maybe just pull the chair up here so you could be
Or
heard.
do something
Oh,
that's
here?
here.
We could sit next to me, that'd be great.
Great, good evening.
So the first thing on my report, agenda, numbers and programs. We had 304 new registrations since our last meeting. We also had our PAL basketball tournament, which was held on September 17th. Had a great turnout. Teams from all over Metro West participated, including teams from our own fire and police departments. This last month, we also participated in the Back to School Safety event, which was held on Saturday, October 1st at Cushing Memorial Park. Wasn't a fantastic day as per weather-wise, but we had to adjust our sails a little bit. Had a great time, decent attendance considering the weather. Looking forward to next year's event. Last night was the last evening of our pilot pickleball league run through USTA. We did max out our registration at 32 players, which was great. A couple of kinks during this pilot session, but we are looking forward to holding another session in league in the future. The City Spooktacular will be held on Tuesday, October 18th at the Memorial Building from 4 to 6:30. So be sure to bring your little ghouls and goblins and romp around the Memorial Building for some tasty treats. And our Pumpkins in the Park event will be held on October 29th from 1 to 3 at Cushing Memorial Park. We'll have pumpkin painting, hay rides, crafts games, fire, police, and the bookmobile will also be there. Right now we have about 110 kids registered. So this last month we had a couple of challenges, not a lot actually. So not having pool obviously has been proven to be a gigantic hurdle, but I think I've finally come up with a plan. We had a couple of weather-related program cancellations over the last month, which, considering it was a really dry summer, I can't really complain about it. And in general, right now, our registration numbers are a little low in comparison to a couple past years. I have attended a Metro West Parks and Rec Association meeting, and we are not the only department that's having a little downturn in registration numbers, so we're hoping that everything will bounce back up. So positives and new initiatives, winter swim team will be happening. So we were able to secure full time at Atkinson Pool in Sudbury. I'm currently putting in a practice schedule, as well as trying to figure out the pricing. Unfortunately, there's going to be a significant jump in price in order for us to have a team per participant. So we do obviously have financial assistance available for all of our programs, but I'm also putting a payment plan together for those that may need it. Framingham Includes All continues to gain in popularity. Although we haven't had enough participants to actually run a program yet, our numbers keep increasing. And there's been a lot more emails and phone calls that have been coming into the office in regards to the program, so that's all positive. I really hope that, this next time around we'll get the program up and running. I do want to thank the Disability Commission for their monetary support of our Framingham Includes All program, as well as the Lions Club. They've both given donations for that specific program. And under miscellaneous, so both Lake Cochituate and Washington Pond are currently under a cyanobacteria advisory. This was issued by the State Department of Health. Lake Cochituate was last week and Washington Pond was this morning. So just a little fun fact, as I was going back to last year's report, both of those ponds were under an advisory in October last year as well. So this might be a trend. So,
Interesting.
and any questions?
I do. So the pool for winter swim team, would you be using Atkinson?
We will be.
So is there any consideration for an assist with transportation? Just because that's kind of, if you have, somebody just may not have access to a car and or somebody that has to get a bunch of kids in certain areas,
Right.
that's kind of,
It's
it's
going to
not
be a
far,
jaunt.
but it's a little jump.
I have a couple of different ideas and a list. I'm going to be meeting with the head coach next week. That could be definitely one of them, or we could put maybe a phone tree together or a carpool list together.
Yeah.
That way,
Might help some people that are
absolutely.
questioning it.
Yeah.
If they're going to be able to accommodate, by the time people get out of Boston and get over
Mm-hmm.
to Sudbury, that adds a good.
So the other thing is that the available pool time that they had are on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So it's not going to be as much of an issue on Saturdays and Sundays. Friday night still might be iffy, but we can definitely put a carpool.
So that actually is not so bad,
Right.
because it's not like it's going to be when it was before, like more during the week. Okay,
That's right.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
If I
Gentlemen?
may,
Framingham Includes All.
um,
Yes.
what are you Families, kids, age groups?
Families and kids, it is geared toward those with the special needs. So it's an initiative that we put together to have them participate in more social engagements as opposed to like with Special Olympics, it's all sports oriented. So I believe our next program on the schedule is a Halloween party that we're going to be doing. We're going to be kind of like our pumpkins in the park, but you know, on a different night and for the registrants for the program.
Thank you. Victor?
All set.
Motion?
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second.
Wonderful, thank you. Go ahead.
Gidego, yes.
Hawk, yes.
Colson, yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
now thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to Superintendent's of Park Maintenance report.
Out there on the table, you'll get it.
Okay. We can hear you.
Or you can just be up next to Dave if you want there too, if it's easier.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions at all? Report. Maintenance remains the same as it was in September. The projects, tree work at Gallagher Park and Main Street Cemetery. Also approved all the our contract to prune all the trees around the memorial building. And some hardscape installation of benches and so forth. Landscape pruning at level of sites. We continue our aeration, fertilization, and seeding program. Our park, we went back in, we slice seeded the whole area. What's it gonna be because it keeps. So we'll probably have to look at some other type of surface in there going. Still working on some irrigation issues as we have to turn down the amount of irrigation. Lightning strikes, the work is still ongoing. Field, I haven't had any issues there, other than some trash issues. We've done some landscape plantings. Interment of ashes at Edwards, and I'm interviewing summer seasonal seasonal co-op workers for the fall work group. Changes at Bowden just still.
I have a side question. Were we supposed to have a cemetery meeting tonight before we met?
We were, but agenda, so we'll have to do it for the next one.
Okay, just
Make
to
sure
check.
I'll make sure Murph makes sure that we have it.
I'd ask. Gentlemen, any questions or concerns?
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Oh, motion?
Oh, I'll make a motion to accept the report.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Gidego, yes.
Hawk, yes?
Colson, yes.
Awesome. Okay. Now we're on to the director's report.
Thank you. So we, as asked, we met with the various sports groups, organizations, youth sports. We had a chance to meet with lacrosse and soccer on a meeting. We met with baseball separately to discuss some things, and then we're due to meet with football. I know we've had regular conversations with you, but you know, you were invited to the meeting. We'll figure out a time to get you in, and we can, you know, talk about that as well. And I thought overall it went well. You know, I think there was some new people involved now. So, you know, new people kind of running organizations, new ways of kind of looking at things. So it was a good opportunity to talk with them. Overall, the response, at least from lacrosse and soccer, is that their needs are being met at this point. We do on Merchant Road have to revisit the lease agreement, but we're ahead of the game on that a little bit. It's not due for, I think, like 7 more years. But part of that process is that they might wish to do some capital improvements So we'll wait to hear what that list is and work with them on, and include that into the permit, the lease agreement. And lacrosse, same thing, really not much to speak of in terms of issues or concerns. Both groups were excited to see that the filler fields were open, and we mentioned that there's going to be a process. You know, we slowly opened them up this year and dealt with some of the groups, but as time goes on, there will be more and more of a demand for those fields, so we'll have to work on schedules and kind of what works for everyone and balancing the school's needs with the youth program's needs. But they were very excited to see not just one field, but two. We did mention that Mary Dennison will be having a field coming online soon, and you know, we're still exploring additional opportunities to bring turf to Framingham. My second item is Keep Framingham Beautiful. They're going to be at the Farm Pond doing a cleanup this weekend.
Oh,
So I mentioned to Chris, I shot an email over that there may be a few extra bags to clean up or something over there. So we'll just have to see what they collect. They've been hugely successful, and their work is much appreciated. It's just, you know, they get to a lot of places where sometimes we just can't get to, or not right away. So, you know, I don't know the exact number of cleanups. Usually, you know, every other month or so, they'll give me a breakdown of how many cleanups they're doing. But I mean, it's been, I mean, I would say close to probably 100 cleanups in various places throughout Framingham, helping out a variety of different groups, both public property and private property. So yeah, they've been amazing. We are helping them by posting some of their signs. They've got signs in multiple languages now. You know, they continue to give me updates where some of the problem areas that they've identified, or high use areas. Some we knew about, some spring up, like all of a sudden if there's a heavy use at the boat ramp or something like that, then they'll let us know. And so there's been a good open line of communication there, and we certainly appreciate their help. It is budget season now, so Jim and I have been working closely with Louise, Mike, the mayor, to develop our project priorities. We're supposed to submit our capital plan by the end of the week this week, but I can give you an idea of some of the things that we're working on now and some of the things that will be coming down the road. You know, right now for fiscal year 23, we are working with the Mary Dennison project. We are in negotiations now with Avery Dennison. This is privileged and confidential legal information, so I can't disclose a lot of the details, but you know, I'm just letting you know that there has been progress.
good.
And we are working. DEP did make their final recommendation, which then generated the estimates. And then we had a basis in which to order or start to begin the negotiations. So that's where we are right now.
Good.
So legal counsel is heavily involved with that, as is Louise and the mayor. So, you know, as soon as a settlement is reached, we can start to move on to the next step, which will be, you know, developing a bid spec package and getting that out to bid. All this hopefully will happen after the new year. So, you know, again, we're moving on that one as well. Winch tennis court replacement, we're also working on that as well, working with the designer to create the big bid documents. So I know he's been up there on several visits. He is diligently working on those designs. And again, you know, we'll hope to have something, a more solid number to then go out and put it out to bid. So we're getting closer there as well. Arlington Street, we had a design meeting on 10/6/22. That was a virtual meeting per the request and the recommendation of Jose and some others that we thought that we might get the most people, at least for the initial meeting. There was about 29 that showed up, which I thought was a pretty good representation. There was multiple languages, and we did do our best to provide some translation services while the meeting was going on, both in the chat room and as well as, you know, questions that were asked. So, you know, we thought we did I would say a decent job in terms of that. Still some work to go, and the next meeting that we want to have will be in person.
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of, oh, I'm sorry, I was on that, and just seemed to be a lot of people were interested in getting out onto the property, which would be good too.
They were, and they are. Yeah, so like I said, the reason why we had the first one kind of virtual is we thought we might capture more people. Unfortunately, there was a meeting switch, so a lot of the city council meeting was changed to the same night because of the holiday. And so unfortunately, you know, some of those members couldn't be there. I have given some people individual updates, but, you know, certainly something more comprehensive is forthcoming. And we'll make sure that everyone's aware of that in-person meeting as well, and we'll publicize that out and hopefully get a good turnout there. The plan will be to come back with some conceptual designs from the first meeting, just to get, again, kind of the ideas flowing, and people can sort of narrow in on what they want to see at the park. One overarching theme was public safety, as well as, you know, the building of the playground or rebuilding of the park. So public safety in terms of the unhoused that are in the area. There's some needle use, you know, finding needles there. Hats off to Hidden Gems and some of the other groups that were out there. I know the Bookmobile was out there, Hidden Gems was out there a lot. Even the health department was out there on a relatively frequent basis, helping to kind of keep an eye on the park and work with some of those issues. So, you know, it was stated in the meeting from our designer and from us. I mean, we're kind of focusing on building a structure that hopefully the community and the neighborhood can rally around and feel proud of in their neighborhood. You know, of course, there's going to be some, you know, continuing challenges that the police, the health department, and other, you know, mental health facilities or people that can work with the types of situations that are going on there. But I think it's going to be a kind of a combined effort. I think, you know, us working on the park side, other people working on, you know, police working on doing their thing, and then having the health department involved as well, because I think, you know, there's going to be some coordination of resources or trying to connect people to resources that I think will be a critical part of the success of the park. We did discuss other safety things like lighting and cameras and surveillance and some other things. So I thought that went over well in terms of having some, you know, level of or measure of safety there. I'm trying to think. I think that was really about the gist of the meeting. So we'll go back with those designs and then go from there. We also filled out a CPA application, and we were asked to move to the second round of submitting a full application for Arlington Street, so we'll be doing that. Chris Walsh Memorial Trail Design, we're also working on that, and we're working off the earmarks that we got from the federal earmarks and state earmarks. We also put in a CPA application for that, and we were asked to submit a full application, so we'll be doing that as well.
So this is all CPA plus part of the fiscal year 23?
So we're putting in for CPA, and then we'll also be putting in, you know, in the CIP. We don't know where the money may come from just yet until, you know, things are approved or decided or voted on. Ultimately, the CPA goes through the mayor, and then there's a recommendation to the city council. And of course, you know, the CPA board has a lot to do with the process and what gets to move forward and what things are meeting the eligibility requirements. So, yeah, Chris Walsh Trail is, you know, we were working with CSX trying to figure out the crossing. That has proven to be a bit of a stumbling block to try to get that connectivity from downtown over to the Chris Walsh Trail. So we're still working at CSX trying to see how that'll come together. In the meantime, we've been asked by Louise to work on the connection from the gatehouse all the way around to the boat ramp. So essentially all the way across Farm Pond, you know, closer to the aqueduct. So we are working with the trail, you know, system there, trying to design that. There'll be additions to the aqueduct that goes over to the gatehouse. And the connection hopefully will be at the end of the day around the small loop of going around Little Farm Pond. And then a larger connection again from the gatehouse all the way across Farm Pond Park to the boat ramp. So that's where it is right now. If we do make some significant, you know, gains or advancements in working with CSX, we'll we'll advance that project to figure out what the crossing will look like, an at-grade crossing. We've discussed 2 different locations that would potentially work. But right now, they're very hesitant to open that up to the public for public crossing. There's still a significant amount of freight train and other trains that go through there. So, we'll continue to work with them. But it's not slowing down the design of the rest of the project. The other, and that one also has a CPA application that has been deemed eligible and will be moving into full application. The other CPA application is for Temple Street Park, and that has also been approved to move forward to the full application. So we submitted 5 altogether, and 3 of them were eligible to move forward. The 2 that were not were a master plan, essentially for Cushing Park, which would include some land acquisition there. So we're going to try to work with the city on what the acquisition may look like, because it was the master plan piece of it that didn't meet the eligibility requirements. And the other project was some work up at Winch Park to do some redesign work up there that would make that facility just a little bit more useful for the public, in addition to the high school. The high school does have a lot of its athletics there, although it is a public park. So we will be doing that. We'll be looking at that, but unfortunately it didn't meet the requirements for the CPA application, so we'll have to see where it falls on the CIP. We also have some other projects going on that have popped up. We had a lightning strike at Longs, so we're trying to fix those lights on those fields. And then we're also looking at some Loring Arena lighting upgrades and some other upgrades there, which probably will be somewhat separate from the CIP. We're working with Louise on that. So that's an awful lot on our plate right now. We are proposing some things to go into the fiscal year 24. Now, we'll propose what we or make recommendations. Ultimately, it'll be up to the mayor again to decide which one of those will move forward to the city council. Then that'll get referred to the finance subcommittee. There'll be some discussion around there, and then we'll have a final recommendation from the city council, and that's usually around late May or so. So some of the things that we are looking at in these out years are the Winch Park athletic field design, the Washacum Beach design, looking at pools and splash pads, the Temple Street playground. We'll be putting it in there, and if we don't get the CPA money, it'll be in the capital program. We're also looking to do some efficiency work with the Bowdish complex and the Longs lighting, changing things over to LED. Bowdish tennis courts and basketball court resurfacing. At some point, the Loring Arena roof is going to need to be replaced. It's about 20 years now, so it's shelf life at this point. It is hanging in there for right now, but we're going to have to consider that. Also, the Loring Arena cooling unit. That is something that has also reached the end of its lifespan and could go at any time. It's one of those things that we probably want to secure and have, because if it breaks mid-season or something, I mean, that would be catastrophic. You have to shut down the whole facility, which would be a huge impact to the whole ice skating community. So we're trying to avoid that. So we're, going to be working with that recommendation. The other things that are also out there that we need to get done are the Reardon Park construction at some point. The Longs Complex baseball and softball upgrades, not just to the lighting systems, but the fields and the facility itself. There's some accessibility challenges over there too, with walkways and trying to get to different areas of Longs. A Walsh master plan, a Butterworth Park plan. There's talk of a community center coming to town. We've been talking to the mayor about that. Danforth Park, Roosevelt Park, Anna Murphy Park all need upgrades, and we'll work to identify more of those upgrades. We have some of the ADA upgrades, but there's some other things that we want to do. And then Simpson Park and Central Street Crossing. So that is also an initiative that's out there. It's in District 4, and the goal of that project is to figure out a crossing across Central Street. Unfortunately, it's on a really kind of sharp curve,
Yeah.
and the sight lines are not great. DPW has been out there, the Traffic Commission has looked at it. They've determined, maybe some trees should come down, although that involves, getting conservation involved. There's other talk of trying to, make a parking lot at the pump house, which is right across the street, so we, want some sort of crossing there. Another thought is somehow trying to make some herringbone or some kind of parking on the right-hand side, right in the park itself, but, there's probably only about 50 feet of property, and then it's right into the water, so I'm sure there's some setbacks and some things that need to happen there. But there is some desire to make some improvements to Simpson Park as well. So, as you can see, there's a lot of parks that are playgrounds and things that have sort of reached the end of their useful life, or they're going to continue to have issues, especially in the playgrounds. 20 years is about max for a playground. And a lot of these things that were done in the Bob Marucci era when he was the former director, back in the 80s, 90s. So, we're getting there in terms of the 20 plus years. So, so those projects will be coming down the road as well. So that's about it for my report. We will be working on Capital Now, which is, like I said, due this Friday. From there, we'll be rolling into the operating budgets. I've already asked some of our superintendents and Jim and I to start to think about operating and what we might do a little bit more differently, a little bit more efficiently for this year. So we'll take a look at those recommendations. One of the things that is a major concern for us now is personnel. We are down 2 admins here. They're down an admin over in Council on Aging, and they're down an admin over at the cemeteries. So, that across the board is a big hit. In the past, we've had some flexibility to share admins kind of across the departments, but that's proving to be more and more difficult now without the staff. We're running into similar issues with the Parks crew, trying to get enough people in here to run the Parks program. We're looking to probably expand some personnel in that area. As Mary Dennison comes online and some of the newer parks come online, there's an interest in having, an increased presence of park staff, of maintenance and things, so that we're putting those plans together to try to provide that coverage as well. And this is something that's going on with a lot of the departments. I was in a division head meeting today, and pretty much every department is dealing with a heavy amount of loss of personnel. And it's taken a long time to get some people to apply. So, that's going to continue to be a challenge, I think, for the city.
So it's just not funding, it's actually securing personnel.
Right, it's not the funding. The funding is, for the most part, I think, in people's budgets. It's, when people leave after a year or maybe 2, and then it takes 3 months plus to get a new person on board, training them up and everything. It's a lot of effort, a lot of time, and you hope that they're going to stay for a while. The reality is that, people are moving positions after a year or 2. So we're trying to work with that and work with the personnel department, and I know they're actively doing job fairs, and they're out at different functions trying to get people to apply at the farmers market in different places, right? So we'll continue to work with them and try to fill these gaps.
Good.
Suggestion or just some things that you ought to keep in mind when you're filling out those CPC applications?
Yes.
One that came up with Chris Walsh was that you had funding from a lot of different places. They want to know specifically what you want to buy or fund.
Okay.
So those are the things that they're going to be looking at. Because obviously that's high on the mayor's list. It's, a great idea. But the problem is that there's money coming from different sources. How much do you need? What do you want to spend it on?
Sure.
If you get something a little bit more specific in that aspect on any of these projects, a specific number helps a lot.
Yeah, so that is one that where we did get, some funding, I will, identify that. We got 230 from, the feds, 250 from the state. I think there's another grant that's going to be coming in. So, yeah, if, you know, we're looking for funding in all different areas. So if it, you know, if it doesn't go towards the design, which is what we're working on right now,
Yeah.
it'll certainly be applied towards construction, which,
Okay, they don't wanna know specifically what you wanna spend it on.
okay, we will.
So, you know,
we will add
and
that.
that's why there was, you know, a bunch of money, so what are you looking for the money for, what do you wanna do with it?
Mhm.
You know, be a little bit more specific about that type of thing. In pretty much any of your proposals, that's a number is kind of key.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely include that.
No, so all the projects that were on board 2 months ago are still here. We haven't changed any of those.
So those are our fiscal year '23 projects that are ongoing, yeah, so, you know, they're in various stages of design, right now, so, yeah.
Anything, Tony? Oh, I have one question.
Mhm.
On, the park, do you have a particular timeframe when we're gonna look to get everybody together down to discuss?
For Arlington?
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't nailed down a date. We've been toying with the idea of what date works. You know, again, with daylight savings, you know, anything in the late day doesn't really work now.
right,
From what I heard, Saturdays were good for some people, so we'll have to figure out what time. I know it's hard to find a perfect time where everyone can be there.
right.
So, yeah, we'll, I was hoping, Jose would be here, but I'll reach out to him and talk to.
So like probably like before the end of the year,
Like,
you'll be doing it?
oh, yeah, within the next
Okay.
like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we gotta move this right along, so.
Yeah,
Ish.
right.
Yeah,
Mid-November, before mid-November.
Like
right.
before the end of the year?
The consultant needs to work with the equipment people to make sure that he can get some renderings
Oh, okay.
and get the plan laid out.
Oh, okay.
But we were talking about November for that meeting.
Because I think we did, with Mary Dennis, I remember there being a Saturday one at,
Mhm.
down at Harmony, well, it was whatever it was called before Harmony Grove.
Yeah, we had 2 of them. So one of them
two?
was on site at the
Yeah.
park, which was great. It was a beautiful day and,
Right.
and we had some food
And then the
and
other
some
one,
other stuff.
right.
And then the second one, because it rained, we were going to be in the park, but we ended up going to Harmony Grove.
And they were they both Saturdays? I know one was a Saturday.
I believe they were both Saturdays.
Yeah. And they were,
hmm Yeah, the switch up, I think, of the location with the rain was a little tricky for people. I think,
Yeah.
either, you know, it just didn't carry over. The first meeting I thought was extremely successful.
yeah, no, okay. Good.
Another question, if you're getting together with football and baseball, you're gonna do it separately or together?
I don't know, whenever people can meet, really. So it just happened that lacrosse and soccer could meet that night, and they came in, and it was a great conversation. I've met with baseball already individually.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's football individually first, or, you know,
Well,
invite them both in, but we
And you
can.
share the property, right?
Part of it's shared property. so
Right.
I think it'd be important that they try to meet together.
Yeah, we encourage to get everyone in the room, the first time, but yeah, we'll work to get those guys in.
Okay, I mean, the bottom
Good
line
idea.
here is that they need to work together.
Yeah.
Right,
Good idea.
right. Yep.
Motion, please?
It's my turn. Make a motion, we accept the report.
I'll second. Hideko, yes?
Yes.
Colson, yes.
Okay.
Kathy, I just noticed that you were on here. I was reading my notes. I didn't see you sneak into the room, but I'm happy to give you an update if you want to talk later on this week, and I can explain. We did put in a CPA application briefly, and you know, it's going to be in the CIP for 24. So just a quick heads up.
Thank you.
All this is business?
Yep. I don't have any.
Okay. Commissioners, Mr. Hideko, do you have anything to bring forth?
No, well, I just wanted to mention that, you know, we do have projects from CPC and for Park and Rec and a lot of others. There's 21 projects technically that are gonna be going forward. So, the more the merrier, but it's, so, you know, probably in the vicinity of $20 million for 2 There isn't a lot of money to go around for an awful lot of projects, so the better the projects are, the more specific they are, the better. Nope, I don't have anything.
Well, I think that's gonna be the case for a lot of the capital projects. You know, we're putting forth a healthy list of projects, but I don't think they can all be funded, not all at the same time. So,
But just make sure all the
for
information is there.
CPA and for the capital program as well,
But,
yeah.
you know, the more thorough the applications that are filled out, the more specific they are, the better their choices and chances are gonna be.
Good.
Yeah, we're all gonna get pushing, there are all kinds of people out there with favorites, we're hearing from everybody. Everybody wants their projects going forward.
Do I do what?
Any other commissioner reports?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay.
We,
Well, I don't know, the mayor is aware of it,
okay,
yeah.
great. No, I think we're all set. Nobody else has anything, so.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that I appreciate the fact that we could come to the meeting and you guys take the time to show up. I mean, Zoom is a wonderful thing for about 2 meetings. And, you know, it gets pretty,
For about 2 years.
you know, I'm meeting with a bunch of people on CBC I've never met. Very few of them I actually know personally. So it's nice to come in and see everybody and, you know, everybody know we're all alive and working together. So
Second that. Good to see everybody in person. So, anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. Awesome. We will adjourn in plenty of time for Zoom. Zoom has like 1 more minute before, before it crashes, right?
Well, I have the full hour account now, yes.
Oh,
So I've
full hour.
upgraded since
We go on.
that we had to switch over last time. So we are making certain upgrades. Hopefully the phone situation helps with the audience hearing a little more clearly. I think that when people speak one at a time, I think that'll help as well. So, yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for listening in and speaking up.